A place called Megiddo, better known as Armageddon. But the biblical text says that before this can happen, Satan must bring his chosen leaders to power.
Even now are there many antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time.
But the Antichrist is likely to start out by offering us all kinds of goodies, you know, and then once he gets us, then he's got us.
According to the book of Revelation, the conditions for battle will finally be set when Satan's chosen emissaries, the Antichrist and the false prophet, gain power in the last days of tribulation. This is when the end begins, enabling the following key events to unfold. First, the Antichrist forges a treaty that allows Israel to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. Now, the Antichrist, on Satan's behalf, declares himself to be God and moves into the rebuilt temple.
He takes his seat in the temple of God, proclaiming himself to be God.
And this is what Satan always wanted, was to be exalted and made like God, or worshipped as God.
According to Revelation, the Antichrist and the false prophet will launch a reign of terror, killing all who oppose them. In response, God will challenge Satan's followers with a series of disasters, each more terrible than the last. One passage from the text describes how a falling star will cause 1/3 of all water to become poisoned.
And a great star, blazing like a torch, fell from the sky on 1/3 of the rivers and on the springs of water.
Could this falling star be the same star that crashes to Earth in the prophecy mentioned by a Hopi elder in the late 1950s?
You will hear of the sea turning black, and many living things dying because of it.
Revelation states that the destruction will intensify with fierce storms. A massive earthquake will reduce cities and mountains to rubble. Islands will disappear, engulfed by tidal waves. The text also describes how a great hail will fall from the heavens, each stone weighing nearly 100 pounds. Is this a veiled reference to some new ice age? The final battle ensues as the world is transformed.
The judgment now is coming, and he will be the instrument of bringing it to its final climax. As he raises the nations up against God, he brings all of the nations of the earth against Jerusalem to do battle.
Some biblical scholars believe that the book of Daniel describes how great military powers will rise up against the Antichrist, attacking him from the south and the north.
The book of Daniel says, armies will surround Jerusalem.
Some biblical interpreters suggest the Antichrist will oppose the forces of good with an even larger army of 200 million that approaches from the east.
And they come across the dried up Euphrates River, and they gathered at a place called Megiddo, which is north of Jerusalem.
The prophesied place is a broad valley called Armageddon. Here, according to the Bible, Jesus will make a dramatic appearance to lead the forces of good.
Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem.
The final battle between good and evil begins. This is according to John the Apostle, as he recorded in the controversial book of Revelation nearly 2,000 years ago.
And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, Come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God, that ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men.
Revelation provides no details of the prophesied battle, only that Christ and his army are victorious. But some believe the Old Testament prophet Zechariah foresaw the grim aftermath.
Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth.
Christ literally dissolves them where they stand. It's a horrific picture in Zechariah 14 of what Christ will do to that great army, and the blood that will flow is quite a picture.
Revelation says the Antichrist and false prophet will be destroyed, and that Satan will be chained and imprisoned, ultimately powerless.
And then finally, at the very consummation of the age, he will be consigned to the lake of fire, which is really hell itself.
The prophecy culminates with Christ ruling on earth in peace for 1,000 years. If, according to prophecy, the end has already begun, some believe we should also look to the prophets for guidance on how to prepare for that day.
Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, taught his followers to live in this world as if you're going to live forever, but prepare for the meeting with your Lord as if you're going to die tomorrow.
In Matthew chapter 25, the message is about how we're to live our lives. It means take care of each other. It means have compassion. It means to work for peace and justice.
Prophecy makes us realize our own potential, good and bad. They force us to come to terms with which path are we going to take. Are we going to line up behind the forces of evil and destruction? Or are we going to line up behind the forces of good?
If ancient prophecy is indeed converging with recent history, and the Battle of Armageddon will soon be upon us, some may see it as an opportunity to consider how to change our ways as that final hour approaches.